Yes, hello. Welcome back to the Rugby League Forecast podcast for edition 3 of round 6, the upcoming round. This is my tips and predictions for round 6. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know everything about rugby league because I don't. I'm not the greatest tipper. And I haven't been since 2013. But in saying that, I try my best and I love the game. So if you think I know a thing or two about rugby league, but when it comes to tipping, fair to say that I struggle in that area. But I'll give it my best shot. Let's go through the Thursday night game between the Canterbury Bulldogs and the Penrith Panthers. Gee, it's getting hot in here. I'm going to take this off Thursday night at Accor Stadium. This is going to be a good game of football, but sorry, Bulldogs fans, I think you're going to get your third loss in a row. I think the Penrith Panthers will win this and win this big. Bronson Xerri back into the side, which I find quite interesting. Is he going to play for his coach? Is he on board with the coaching stuff? I don't know. I think he's very confused about his future, and I've got no doubt probably within the next few weeks he will be out of the Bulldogs club. I don't think his heart and soul is going to be in it, and I do worry about their defence in the centres, to be honest with you. Matt Burton and Lachlan Galvin in the halves, don't know, is it working? Their attack would say no. They're 17th in attack at the moment. You know, Bailey Hayward, I do think they're missing the creativity of Reid Marnie at dummy half, especially near the try line. But at the end of the day, I won't lie, this is a game where the Bulldogs can win. But for me, I think Penrith are going to be too strong in this game. What the Panthers are doing at the moment is absolutely sensational. Really like Jack Cogger on the bench for Penrith as well. He's a really underrated player. They don't win that 2023 grand final without Jack Cogger. The next game is the Dragons and the Manly Sea Eagles. This you'll find Friday 6 p.m. Wynn Stadium, Wollongong. You'll catch this on KO Sports and Fox League, channel 502 on Foxtel. And the Dragons, well, for me, I think they're going to lose this game. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Manly fan. I've just got huge concerns of their future going forward. Now, I actually do like Tyrell Sloan going into fullback. I actually think they're going to get more out of their fullback this week. And that's no diss on Gutherson. I just think Gutherson's probably a centre or a half at this backstage of his career. But Tyrell Sloan, the extra speed through a hole, through a gap, chasing a defender, doing whatnot. The extra speed could be a key ingredient if the Dragons are to win this game. Kyle Flanagan to 7 and Daniel Atkinson at 6, I really like. There's no doubt that they are really missing Dylan Egan at the Dragons. He was sensational when he played for the Dragons last year. For me, their best player of the year has no doubt been Hamish Stewart. He's been really, really impressive. I like Cade reading this game, named in the 19, of course, in the round 5 review in the first edition of the episode this week. I commented on Cade Reid and how important he was to be named in this side. The first game of the preseason challenge was between one of the first games was between the Dragons and the Knights, and Cade Reid got man of the match up against first graders. Yet to make his NRL debut. Still very young, still only around 19 years of age, but I think there's no doubt that if the halves don't lift in their performances, especially after the shift from back to, Atkinson back to his normal position, which is 5'8", and Kyle Flanagan to halfback, I think Cade Reid is no doubt an option going forward, especially if Shane Flanagan gets sacked within the next few weeks. I could see Cade Reid being a long-term half at the Dragons, and I think Dragons fans would love to see it just quietly. I would also love to see big Locker Junior Pacifica Tonga in the number 21 named in the lineup. To be honest, I think he's just a young up-and-coming superstar. Get him in there. What have they got to lose at the end of the day? They've lost 5 in a row. I think their fans have accepted they're probably not going to make finals this year. They could be lucky to avoid the spoon the way they're going. At the end of the day, just get them in there playing good football. They need to adjust the way they play. They need to almost tear up 2026 and the game plan and just fucking play. If I'm Shane Flanagan, maybe he looked like in the press conference he had no answers to what was going on. Maybe you just talk to your senior players and say, hey, work it out because whatever I'm doing ain't working. And maybe sometimes it's just better to do that and leave it up to the players. That might sound silly, but I've got no doubt lots of coaches do it over the years. You look at Brisbane losing grand finals in the losing grand finals at halftime in their history. Kevin Walters talks about Wayne Bennett walking into the dressing room and all he'd say is, you're grown men, sort it out. In the 2010 grand final between the Dragons and the Roosters, Wayne Bennett walks in. He goes, the Dragons were down 8-0, I think, at halftime, and 8-6 or something at halftime. And he walks in. He goes, Well, once you decide to play Dragons football or win the comp, then they score around 28 unanswered points in that second half. So sometimes the less said is better from a coach. And I'm wondering if that's probably the way Shane Flanagan coaches this side this week, because whatever's happening there at the moment is not. It's not working. So for the Manly Seagulls, I think Manly win this game. I'm not going to sit here and say Manly are going to flog the Dragons. I think the Dragons will lift, and I think they'll actually put in a decent performance for their supporters. But at the end of the day, Clint Gutherson is a loss just in terms of his leadership experience. I'm not necessarily saying he's a loss at fullback, but I do just genuinely believe he is a loss in the side. I wish the Dragons all the best. I genuinely do, because I don't hate the Dragons. I really don't. One of my good mates, Peter Kemp, is a Dragons fan. So there's a part of me that wants to see them do really well for him. But at the end of the day, I genuinely believe that Manly will win this. So yeah, there you go. So I've gone Penrith in the first game, Manly in the second game, both favourites in those two games, and I've gone the Broncos in this upcoming game between the Cowboys. You'll catch this on Channel 9's Wide World of Sports, KO Sports and Fox League, Channel 502, Friday, 8 o'clock at Suncorp Stadium. You've got the Broncos and the Cowboys. Now, this is going to be a great game of football. There's no Reece Walsh. I'm not convinced that Adam Reynolds is going to play at halfback, and there's no Ben Hunt. So how are they going to adjust? In my opinion, I think Jesse Arthurs could do a really good job in that fullback position. He's safe under the high ball. I think he will find himself very involved and enthusiastic with carrying up early hit-ups and taking the pressure off his forwards when they're feeling fatigued and tired. Defensively, a really good defender too, Jesse Arthurs. So going to be interesting to see how he goes in that fullback position. The Cowboys, of course, have won 3 games in a row, but I think the Broncos could actually win this and win this well. I'm just not sold on the Cowboys at the moment. They are my smoky of making the 8, but in terms of being a super consistent football team, winning 4, 5, 6 games in a row, I don't know. I could see them finishing 7th or 8th and then getting knocked out week 1 of the finals. I don't know if they're any better than that at the moment. I think the Broncos have an incredible amount of depth in this side, and please expect young Tom Duffy to start at halfback if you do not see Adam Reynolds line up in that 7 jersey. I'm just not convinced they're going to risk him. I don't think they should risk him, to be honest. They need him fit and firing for the back end of the year and his final year of his career. If the Broncos are going to go back-to-back, they need Adam Reynolds in this side. In my opinion, they're captain since 2022. Heilum Luki, I just want to touch on him for the Cowboys. They can win this, the Cowboys. There's no doubt about it. But I just think, the Brisbane Broncos will win. They've both won 3 games in a row now, both starting the season 0 from 2. So they're in very similar positions on the ladder, and the way they've started the season, exactly the same, really. So I'm going to be really intrigued. I think this is going to be a really, really good, high-quality game of football, as long as the weather conditions are good in Brisbane, which I think at the moment they are expected to be on Friday night at Suncorp Stadium. So I wish both teams the best of luck, but I do think the Brisbane Broncos I can see them winning this 13 plus, to be honest. I just think with the Broncos crowd behind them. Wouldn't surprise me if it's a sold-out crowd. Remember back 10 years ago, 2016, 2017, even 2018, the clashes between 2015, of course, the grand final. But every clash between the Broncos and the Cowboys went into Golden Point. It was so good. It was like the big brother versus little brother. And whenever you knew back in 2016, 2017, you'd look at the draw, you just knew it was going to be Golden Point. There was just this amazing rivalry and this magic in the air watching rugby league between those two teams. It was so good to watch. JT at halfback versus Ben Hunt at halfback back then. Milford at 5'8", kicking a field goal 42 metres out. Ben Hunt scoring a try. It was so good. Ben Hunt scored a try in 2017. I think that was against the Sydney Roosters, I'm pretty sure, in Golden Point. That wasn't against the Cowboys. But in saying that, great rivalry between the two. Let's go to the following game. So I think Brisbane win that well. The Rabbitohs and the Raiders. I'm going an upset in this game. I think the Canberra Raiders get their first win since round 1 against the Manly Seagulls in Golden Point. Now, what I like about the Canberra Raiders in this game is I don't think they're playing overly too bad. Like, the games they've lost, I don't just sit there and think, oh, they've been awful. I just think they're hurting themselves. I actually think the Canberra Raiders are beating themselves. Their discipline has been fucking horrendous, and they are not respecting the football. Now, it's a simple fix. If they fix that up in their game, it's not like the Gold Coast Titans and the Dragons and even Manly for the first 3-4 weeks. They're not fucked. They're not in that category of fucked. They can't fix it. They probably don't have the players to rebuild on the run. They have the players They just need to fix up those easy fixes, play simple football, play a simple style of football, and play a Canberra Raiders 2025 style of football, which we saw last year with them winning the minor premiership. For me, I can actually see the Raiders winning this well. I think the Raiders get their first win since round one. I don't know. I think, it's been 5 weeks now of Ethan Sanders playing at halfback. I think Joe Tarpon, I expect him to have a huge game. Hudson Young, Noah Martin, I can see these kind of players having a huge influence on the game. I just think that the Rabbitohs have started the season really well in season 2026, but I think this could be one of the upsets of the round. I'm actually quietly confident that the Canberra Raiders can win this. Mind you, I'm not the best tipper. I got 6 out of 8 last week. Would you get the week before that, Connor? I'm not going to say anything. I got 1 out of 8 the week before. 1 out of 8. I'm not going to hide behind Michelle. I got 1 out of 8 in round 4. The worst tipping record I've had since 2016. 10 years it's been since I got 1. That was fucking shocking. Really bad. And I had 4 originally. I did a preview show for the tipping. I got 4 out of 8, but I changed tips like 10 minutes before kickoff going, actually, no, I think this team will win, and it fucked me. But anyway, it is what it is. It's rugby league. It's early in the year. Try to stay positive. But round 1, I got 5 out of 8. Round 2, 6 out of 8. Round 3, 4 out of 8. Round 5, round 4, 1 out of 8. Round 5, 6 out of 8. So I'm doing all right, just apart from round 4, which we'll put a line through. For me, I just think Canberra win. I don't know. I just think they win. Now, there's no doubt that Xavier Savage is a big loss in this game. But in saying that, I just think Jed Stewart did a tremendous job when he came into the side halfway through the season last year. Dominated, in my opinion. His kick returns, Jed Stewart, were fantastic and defensively really good as well. He had the occasional error in his game, but for me, I just think the Canberra Raiders are going to be far too strong for the Rabbitohs in this game, and I can actually see a big win to Canberra. I love the Raiders. I love the Rabbits as well, but I'd love to see Canberra get a win and get back into some form. Going to be interesting. I want to see Owen Paddy get a crack off the bench, and I think a lot of Canberra Raiders fans would agree with me. If you don't agree with me, or if you're a rugby league fan in general, just leave it in the comments. If you agree with me, leave it as well. But I'd love to see Owen Paddy. I think they're just missing his spark off the bench. And sure, he's probably not the best decision maker, but he's young in his career. He's only, 20 years old. Like, the more experience he'll play, the more he'll learn. For me, personally, just his creativity, his speed off the mark, his pace in the middle of the ruck, and engaging his forwards in the game when they really need to be heavily involved. He's just got that amazing ability of doing that. I think he'll be coming back into the side within the next couple of weeks. I think Jaden Brayley is a really good dummy half in terms of experience, leadership. He's almost like a second captain, second coach on the field. He's got really high rugby league IQ, but for me, they are just missing that spark, which I think they really, really need. The next game is the Sharks and the Roosters. I'm going to go the Roosters in this game. They are coming off a bye. The Sharks have had 2 huge wins. For me, I think Jesse Ramien's a huge loss, especially in defence. He's one of the best defensive centres, and a really underrated centre, in my opinion, Jesse Ramien. For me, I think the Roosters win this coming off a bye. That will be the second game at Optus Stadium. Cody Ramsey named in the 18. Now, what a story it's been. He hasn't played NRL since I think it was 2022 for the Dragons, playing a bit of fullback. He got really sick, weighed around 62 kilos, and now he's back at the Roosters. Would love to see Cody Ramsey get a run at some stage within the next few weeks, and I think at some stage he will within the next month. What a story that'll be, and I hope the Roosters win for him if he does get on. The following game is the Storm and the Warriors. Expect the Storm to absolutely dominate the Warriors in this game. The Storm do not lose 4 in a row. We've seen them lose 3 in a row, not since 2022, but they will not lose 4 in a row. They will win this game, and I reckon it's going to be one of the biggest scorelines we're going to see. One of the biggest bounce backs we've seen. They lost 50 points to 10. And Craig Bellamy as a head coach hasn't coached Melbourne where they've had 50 points scored against them since I was in year 3. I'm 31 now. 2003. Like, I was 7 years old. That's such a long fucking time ago. They will win this game, and I actually think they'll win it good. The Warriors, to be honest, I think, a couple of tries here and there, but I just don't think they have what it takes to beat Melbourne in Melbourne at the moment. I love the Wars. I want to see them do well, but I do think they are just going to lack a bit of consistency through the season. I understand that's an unfair comment because they started the season with, winning 3 games in a row, but I'm talking about the large portion of the year, I think they could unfortunately be one of those inconsistent sides moving forward. I think the injury to Luke Metcalf can really hurt them long term as well. I want to give credit to Sam Healy off the bench as well for the New Zealand Warriors. For me, he's been absolutely terrific for them. Congratulations to him. He is sensational. I think they will really have to consider him being the long-term number 9 within the next couple of years at the Warriors. Otherwise, there will be other clubs chasing him and offering him big money deals because his quick service out of dummy half and his passing game, his passing selection is fucking fantastic. Also a great defender, a really good young up-and-coming dummy half coming through the ranks there. At the New Zealand Warriors now, the Parramatta Eels and the Gold Coast Titans is the first game, Sunday afternoon football. I'm going to go Parramatta in this game, but this could definitely be an upset. This is really a toss of the coin. I just think Parramatta get it done. Could be golden point again for the Parramatta Eels. I just think the Titans, I just think it could be a long year for them. They can win it, but I just think, at the end of the day, I think Parramatta win this. I really do. At CommBank Stadium, I think they're going to do a good job. I think that I could actually see Parramatta winning this well. I spoke about on one of my previous podcasts, I think it was the Round 5 review, the first edition of the week, of the podcast where I spoke about Dylan Walker starting at lock forward. I personally don't like that. When Jermaine Hopgood started at front row and Jack Williams was playing lock, for me, I'd go Jack Williams as lock. Perhaps you put Jack DeBellin back in the squad, play him at 40 or 50 minutes as a starting front rower, take him off after 20, bring him back in the final 20 in the second half. But Dylan Walker, for me, Parramatta are playing their best football when he's at number 14. What he can do and bring and the momentum he can bring and the footy IQ and the experience and the leadership off the bench, his passing selection, his defence selection, he comes on and plays as a ball-playing lock. But he's so much more than that. He can play as a halfback, a 5'8", a sweeping fullback, a prop, a hooker, a second rower. The way he plays, his skill set, his passing selection, and his attack is fucking so good. Like when he left Manly at the end of 2022, I was genuinely gutted when he went to the Warriors because what he did in that number 14 jersey, Desi has transformed his career. He went, okay, you're not a starting 5'8" anymore. You're not a starting centre. You give me so much off the bench. And that is exactly what Dylan Walker needs to do for Parramatta if they are going to be a consistent football side for this year. Don't underestimate the injuries of Jermaine Hopgood and Bailey Simonson, who I thought has started the season really, really well for the Parramatta Eels. I think Parramatta win, and if they're going to win, I think it could be by a margin. The final game of the round is, of course, the West Tigers and the Newcastle Knights. I think the Tigers win this at Campbelltown Stadium. I think they're just in too good a form. Luke Lauliti is, of course, suspended. But in saying that, I think they are just too good. Jock Madden has been sensational the last 2 weeks in Auckland and at CommBank Stadium, Bankwest Stadium, what do they call it these days, at Parramatta Stadium. He's been terrific since he's come on and started in that number 6 jersey. His kicking options, his kicking game, defensively really strong as well. Adam Dewey has been really good in that 7 jersey to start the year as well. Api Coruscant is in some of the best form we've seen of his career. I think Tigers win this. I think the Knights, at the end of the day, I look at the Knights lineup here and, Fletcher Sharp at 6, Sandon Smith at 7. I genuinely believe if Callum Ponga and Dylan Brown were playing in this game with, the likes of Fletcher Hart possibly in the centres or the wing, I think they could do it, but I just think with no Bradman Best now, he's a huge loss. With no Callum Ponga, Dylan Brown, even though they've done a great job over the last few weeks without those players, I think that it's just too big of an ask for Newcastle to win this game against a high-flying West Tigers who are just loving life at the moment, and it's so good for rugby league to see the West Tigers winning at the moment. Second on the ladder for the West Tigers, which is absolutely fantastic to see. All right, that is the Round 6 NRL 2026 tips and predictions on the Rugby League Forecast podcast. If you love what you're watching, if you love what you're listening to, please subscribe on YouTube to the Rugby League Forecast podcast. That is Rugby League Forecast podcast. And please follow me on Spotify. In the upcoming week, this podcast will also be on Apple Podcasts, so you'll be able to catch it then as well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and enjoy your Round 6 of Rugby League, the greatest game of all.